So we begin tonight with Shams doing his best impersonation of Woj.
There was so much excitement here to finally see the first father-son duo play in the NBA. Now that special moment has happened, what can you tell us about Bronny's plans for future development here?
The Lakers play tonight. They play tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings. Then they go on a 5-game road trip that starts next week. And Bronny James will be on that trip. And that includes a momentous game potentially on Wednesday in Cleveland, a homecoming for LeBron James and Bronny James. And he will be on this trip. Could he play? We'll see. And then after that, I am told he will begin his shuttle from the NBA to the G League. He will be assigned to South Bay that week of November 7th when the G League season starts. And for him and Rich Paul, the big aspect of Bronny James throughout the pre-draft process was his development, and he was not afraid. They welcomed going to the G League. That was a part of it. The big question was it going to be a two-way contract or a guaranteed deal? He gets that 4-year contract, 3 of those years guaranteed. And Malik, I've done some digging on his marketing. This is someone that if he wanted to, let's say he doesn't want to play basketball, he could make more money off his off-court deals in marketing and just be an influencer. But he wants to be an NBA player, and this G League path is a part of that.
On a personal note, I have to say, finding out that Bronny James is actually going to shuttle between the G League and the Los Angeles Lakers is about as surprising as when I found out that the Washington Commanders actually have a play called the Taylor Swift. By the way, they scored a touchdown last week on their Taylor Swift play. Way to go, Cliff Kingsbury. Now, on tonight's show, we are going to talk about Bronny James heading to the G League. Now, as Shams reported, it is about 7 games away from actually happening. I think one of the real questions is between now and then, will we actually see Bronny James play any real minutes at all? I'm not talking about garbage minutes, but actually be given a couple minutes when the game is still actually on the line. That is the discussion for the NBA Rundown today. Hey, interactive show here. Go ahead and tell me what you think about Bronny James. I want to hear from you. Also, if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And of course, like this video, we're trying to do daily videos, sometimes 2 videos a day on the show. Every subscription and like is certainly appreciated and certainly helps the channel grow. Now, I have to say, I'm not surprised at all that the Los Angeles Lakers are actually going to send Bronny James down to the G League. If you followed the Lakers and Bronny James at all through the Summer League, through the National Basketball Association preseason, it is as obvious as finding out one day that water is actually wet, that good old Bronny James is really not ready yet to even be a role player in the NBA. Now, I'm not one of these guys that is just going to jump on here and tell you that Bronny is crap. What I am going to tell you is that Bronny James certainly has a lot of work to do before he could actually really make it in the National Basketball Association as a role player. Now, as Shams said, he has a 3-year, 4-year contract, 3 of which are actually guaranteed. It's a $7.9 million deal. I've talked a little bit about Gary Payton Jr. in the past, and if you were to actually go take a look at Gary Payton Jr.'s stats, you might actually be surprised. What might surprise you the most is he actually doesn't really score as many points as you think he scores. If you take a look at his Warrior year, the year in which the Golden State Warriors actually won their last championship, which was the 21-22 year, he played in 71 games. He averaged 7.1 points per game. He had less than assist per game and 3.5 rebounds per game. But what Gary Payton Jr. currently has that Bronny James Jr. doesn't have at this point is he has a lot of heart and a lot of determination on the court. He plays hard every single second he is on a National Basketball Association court. That is one thing that Bronny James is actually going to have to come to terms with if he's actually going to be successful in the NBA at any sort of degree or level. I don't think anybody out there is expecting him to be a superstar. What we're actually looking at with Bronny James at this point is, can he become a role player in the NBA? Somebody that can play 15 to 20 minutes a game. You know he's going to score somewhere between 5 and 10 points a game, and he's certainly going to get a lot of rebounds, and he's going to distribute the ball well without a lot of turnovers. Now, of course, one of the great things about Gary Payton Jr. is his defense. And the one thing a lot of scouts have actually said about Bronny James is he is a pretty good defender. What we're really going to need to see actually from Bronny is that heart part I was talking about. He can't just get lost on the court. He actually needs to be completely proactive while he's on the court. I've seen this time and time and time again with rookies in the National Basketball Association that look just completely lost on the court. Bronny James needs to solve that problem quickly while he's actually in the G League. All right, so some quick thoughts on Bronny James actually being sent down to the G League. It's going to happen in about 7 games. He'll go back and forth between the Lakers and the South Bay Lakers there in Los Angeles. I think it will be a really good experience. I'm hoping that the G League team gives him a significant amount of minutes. I'm not talking about just 15 minutes a game. Bronny needs to play at least 30 minutes a game in every single G League outing. He has to get used to the speed of professional basketball and certainly needs to become a far more proactive player. He can't become a looker. He needs to become an actual doer. And the G League's a great place for that to actually happen. I want to point out one other player as well, super quick before we get out of here, and that is Scottie Pippen Jr. Scottie Pippen Jr. rode the bench for the Los Angeles Lakers for a couple years and then eventually ended up with the Memphis Grizzlies last year. We saw what Scottie Pippen Jr. was actually able to do with a completely depleted Memphis Grizzlies team at the end of last season. Scottie Pippen Jr. certainly proved that if he was given enough minutes, he could certainly fill up the score sheet. And then that is exactly what he did. Now, Scottie Pippen Jr. has absolutely found a place on a NBA roster going forward because of his performance towards the end of last season, and that didn't just happen overnight. Bronny James is going to need time to develop in the same way Gary Payton Jr. did, and the same way good old Scottie Pippen Jr. did as well. All right, that is it, I promise, for today's, or at least for this video, this podcast around Bronny James. I want to know what your thoughts are, North America. For the NBA Rundown, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
This is Phoenix.